Hello everybody, I'm SimmingInOz, and today we have a very particular video for everybody today. She is a beast! Oh my god, how did I do this? This build was literally about, months in the making, and it was a lot to get through, but my god, it was so vital to the Star Wars save file that I couldn't not do it. I'm of course talking about the Death Star, because you know, if you're gonna build a Star Wars save file, you kind of have to do the Death Star, and I was so keen. I was chomping at the bit to do this build because I had ideas, I had ambition, and then actually doing the build in practice was so draining, but also so fulfilling at the same time because, again, the absolute scale of this build was just so overwhelming in a lot of ways for a builder because, oh my god. Firstly, I think the most of it came out of how much I wanted to fit into this build, but also the shape of it. The shape of it was the bread and butter, it was the foundations, it was literally the most important part of this whole build. And really, it's the thing I needed to get so correct or it would all just fall apart. And I feel like I succeeded as much as I possibly could have in the scenario. So what we've done is we are in the biggest middle central lot of Oasis Springs, which is where our Star Wars save file takes place. It's the biggest lot. It's not a 64 by 64. I think it's a 50 by 50 actually, which, you know, as if it wasn't hard enough. And basically what I did was I took the very lovely live edit objects that we get with the Journey to Batuu pack. My absolute favorite item in the whole pack was this circular kind of dome thing that really just, it was like in a big reverse L shape. And it was perfect for me to create a whole basement level because I knew I needed to use every single level that I could possibly get my hands on, so not just the 4 levels above ground, but the 4 levels below ground. And then we were just going in and we were just trying to make it look natural. So I've built in basically a big station into the ground just to sort of make it make sense, because I could have just built the Death Star, but then what would be surrounding it, because you need to make it blend into the landscape. So I do like to think that if the Death Star is a ship, then this is where it docks. You know, if it needs, I don't know, supplies, fuel, if it ever needed to dock on a planet, this is the kind of docking mechanism it would have. And then we're just basically going through, and I think the whole Death Star, all said and done, is about 7 levels, I think. I'll have to fact check myself on that one. But basically what I did was the most vital point of this whole build was getting the shape correct and making sure that it was even on all sides. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm starting in the very middle layer and I'm basically making a big circle as much as I can. I wasn't going to go through and make the curved walls a thing in this build because just wasn't going to serve my purpose. And then essentially I just went level by level, and piece by piece I made that circular kind of quarter a little bit smaller each and every time, and I just built it on top of each other, making sure that all my quarters are absolutely, you know, in line with each other. They're going in the exact spot they need to. And then it's just basically like building a cake in reverse on both sides. So it's thick in the middle and then it gets smaller as it goes up. And I did have to sort of play with the levels because it was a bit too tall. It was more tall than it was wide. So some of the levels are not with the biggest height of wall that you could possibly have. And then I was just going through and trying to make it look like a circle. So at this point in the build, we are in the trust the process phase of the build because, as you can see, it kind of looks like crap. Really, I swear to God, I'm going to make this work. Just bear with me. I think the best thing I could have done in this scenario was I took a leap of faith in a few instances in this build, particularly with the exterior, because the exterior is really, really important to get correct. So essentially, when I got to this point, I had a sphere, which was hard enough to achieve, but I felt like I got there as much as I could. And then I came to the challenge of making it look even rounder, making it look busy, because you can look at this and go, all right, that is very tiered. Like, you can absolutely see where the layers intersect with one another and build on one another. So essentially my goal at this point was to make it look busy enough where your eye isn't going to be attracted to the places where it doesn't actually look all that spherical, if that's a word. It needed to be smoother. So what I basically did was I threw everything at this exterior. Thankfully, I only had to work with like 1/4 of the build, and then I could just copy and paste that to the other sections of the build. So I really only had to build out 1/4 of the Death Star, which was great. Thank God, because if I had to do this, all the bits one at a time, this would have taken a whole lot longer, my God. So I'm going in with the windows, which are extra busy and they're kind of space themed, and then we're going in with the wall decorations that are striped. I'm going in with the lighting. The lighting was actually really good in this build because I used specifically the wallpaper and the floor tile that illuminates itself. I'm using the fence that illuminates, and the idea is that while it's white at the end of the day, it's a luminescent kind of white, and it's all meant to just distract you from the idea that this build is so awkward. It's awkward, and she's in her teenage years and she hasn't quite come into herself yet. So I'm just trying to smooth everything out, especially with, it doesn't even have to make sense. I'm putting down fences, for God's sake, on a Death Star. What? Why? It's because I'm trying to trick your eye into believing that this place is very intricate and that everything I'm putting down serves a function. So I'm even slapping down Journey to Batuu. I don't know what they are. They're like checkpoints. They've got a gun on it and everything, but the idea was that they were busy looking, and they were white, and they were Star Wars themed. So that's basically all that I wanted. So I am chucking everything. I'm putting in I like to call them the Moisture Farmer lampposts, but I don't even know if they're meant to be Moisture Farmer themed, but they're these beautiful Journey to Batuu lampposts that go like outside, and they glow like white and red just for a little bit of variation. And I'm basically just taking every single Journey to Batuu item that could be metallic in nature and white and a little bit rusty, I'm not gonna lie, and just chucking it on there, trying to fill up my spaces, trying to just blur everything together in such a way that it really just does look like an absolute dog's breakfast of sci-fi stuff. And it's all meant to like be, I don't know, what would be on the outside of a Death Star? Exhaust fence? I don't know. Something to do with oxygen or atmosphere or something. I don't know. I'm sure there's someone out there that could answer that question, but it ain't me. I will freely admit that, okay, so look, I've done a Harry Potter save and I've done a SpongeBob save, but in my knowledge base on these things are pretty decent, but sometimes there are gaps in my knowledge about what exactly I'm building. So I know a lot about Star Wars, but I'm not like an ultra nerd like I am with Harry Potter, so it's sort of like it's a variation kind of thing. So here I am. We've basically hit the point where I'm just going through, and don't worry, I'm not going to show all of it. I really do skip ahead. I'm basically just filling out the exterior of the build and making sure that, it is what it is at the end of the day. And just trying to give you a full sense of just how long this took. Oh, she was a beast. She was a beast and a half. Anywho, the Death Star itself, I originally was going to have the Death Star be a residential lot, but have it be a residential rental lot. And originally I designed it, it's got 7 levels to it on a 50 by 50 lot. So she's big, like she's not small by any means. So she had a lot of interior potential. So I was originally going to have her be a residential rental, and I was going to fill her with about 48 Sims, I believe was the count. And it was going to be stormtroopers out the wazoo. There was going to be Darth Vader. There was going to be the Emperor. It was going to be a mixture of the Empire versus the First Order and everything. And it was going to be crowded. It was going to be the epicenter of, if you wanted to play the dark side, this was the build to play on. And then I discovered that, residential rentals break save files, and I was a massive coward about it. And I'm like, no. So there's only going to be 8 people that live here. So you've got this massive build and it's massive, and only 8 people live here. Oh, one of the things I'm most proud of in this build is we're about to go into the interiors, and my most proud thing about the whole build is the blast doors, because practically you do need something that's going to open up and have the ability to, allow ships exit and entry into the whole Death Star. So what I did was, I did this very clever thing, which I did actually do already in my Jabba the Hutt Palace build, where I took the blast doors that can open and close manually via the Sims from the Get Famous pack, and I put it down, I sized it up, and I did it over 2 levels. So that's 2 levels in the very middle bit of the Death Star, just because I knew that the ship bay, where all the ships park, was going to have to be a 2-story room. So I made sure to do the blast door in such a way that it encompassed the entirety of the wall of 2 levels, as tall as I could possibly make it without the Death Star looking awkward. And then it was a matter of flipping one over so it made sense, it wasn't just one on top of the other. And then it worked. It worked in a practical sense. Like, a sim can actually go up to that door and click on both doors and go open and close, open and close, open and close. And it actually works. It's great. And I think the special secret sauce of that kind of build thing was the blue window I put in, and it sort of acts as like a atmosphere barrier between the depths of space and the actual interior of the Death Star. So it's kind of like an oxygen force field kind of thing, if you get my drift. So as you can see, we're actually working on the shipping bay right now, and she's interesting, isn't she? I love her. She's probably like my favorite room in the whole build, because I was really, really, really looking forward to making her, because I love putting down ships and everything. I love making shipping bays. Oh, it's the best. But as you can see, how do I even go about explaining something like this? Because Star Wars has a lot of design choices that are typically very recognizably Star Wars, but if you had to logic it out and go, why have they done this? I couldn't really tell you. So say, for example, in the shipping bay, on the floor, there's these cutouts where there's these big cutouts in the floor, and they lead down to the room under the shipping bay. I have no idea what those cutouts do. And I sort of just had to go, okay, all right, I'll add it in, because that's exactly what it needs to be. But if you ask me, I'm like, I don't bloody know. I'm not sure, okay? I can't ask George Lucas these things. So I'm really just trying to make it all blend in. So as you can see, I'm taking these little exhaust cutout things on the floor, and I'm basically turning them into, like, I don't know, maybe it's some kind of machinery exhaust thing that needs to happen within the shipping bay. Maybe it's a ventilation thing, I don't know, but I'm basically just trying to blend them into the room and the scenery and make it look like it makes sense. And if anything, it actually just sort of it builds on the room. It makes it look dynamic, because not only is it a 2-story room, but it's also a 3-story room with these little cutouts in it, which I like. And I love the use of the metallic flooring that I did surrounding the cutout. It's basically something you'd use in roofs and everything. It's a very construction pole-based kind of floor tile, and it's so fun. And then I'm just going through it with my Journey to Batuu lighting and everything, and just trying to blend it all in. Even then, just to say, the ship that we currently have docked in the shipping bay, even then I had to size that sucker down, because the ships that you get with Journey to Batuu are so big that even in a 2-story room I needed to size it down. Thankfully not too much. It still makes sense, and it still looks, proportional to the Sims themselves. And then the theme of this room is the lighting. Really, the whole theme of the Death Star is lighting. The lighting in this build was so vital. It was probably the most important thing in the whole thing, because typically you just need excellent lighting, and there had to be lighting absolutely everywhere, because if you think about it, the Death Star is its own independent, moon. It's not a moon. It's a space station kind of thing. I assume they're not gonna it's within the depths of space. You kind of have to make your own light, or there is no light unless you have a sun nearby. So there's a lot of artificial lighting that goes into this build. It also builds on the fact that this is a sci-fi themed build, and just some really good lighting with the pillars and the ones that go horizontally and everything. They just make it. And getting in all your science kind of themed objects and everything will help, but playing with the lighting in a build like this is absolutely essential, and I love it. Because if you take all the lighting away from the current room I'm doing, it just doesn't make sense. It would look incomplete. And now we come to one of my favorite bits in the shipping bay. I felt bad that there was only like one ship docked within the ship, and I knew that there was such things as TIE fighters. I love TIE fighters, the sound they make. I'm not going to do the sound, I'm terrible at it. But I love TIE fighters. I think that's what they're called. They're the Empire ones that make that very weird sound, like they're groaning. I love them, and I wanted to recreate them, which was ambitious on my part, but it was oddly so simple. So what I'm doing is I'm putting down some kind of roof piece, and then I'm putting down a little BB-8 unit in black, and then I'm basically getting a whole ship, and I'm sizing that sucker down, and I'm combining all three of them, and I am actually mounting them onto this pole halfway up the room, and it just makes it look like these TIE fighters are docked. And they're not, they wouldn't just spread them out all over the floor. There's so many of them that they'd have to like stack them in a kind of sequence. So I love the idea. I love the idea that these TIE fighters are just docked, and that they just stack on top of one another. And when the time comes, they have to sort of like get them out again and send them out the door and everything. I think it's so fun. And then this little room up above the shipping bay station is our communications room. Well, you know what? I won't say that. I'll say it's the communications room that are relevant to the ships that are leaving the shipping bay. So it's basically like main control, central control. When you're on a plane and they sort of need to coordinate with the plane, the tower at the airport and everything. I think that's what that is. And now we're moving on to another room. And this is not a room that was originally meant to be within the Death Star. However, it's a room I really wanted to include in my Star Wars save file. It's the room where it's originally meant to be on Cloud City, where Darth Vader and Luke have their first, is it their first? Give me a second to think on this. Hang on. First move. No. This is their first lightsaber fight. And Luke has, gone there to save Han and Leia and everything because they've been taken captive. And, it's this whole thing. And Vader and Luke, they have this big fight. And Luke is so outclassed, it's laughable. And, Darth Vader is just, whopping his ass. And so much so that he takes off Luke's arm. And then there's the dramatic reveal of I'm your father and everything. I really wanted to include that room in the save file. And I'm like, where the frick do I put that? The Death Star is where. Okay, so it's not canon. It's not canon, I'm sorry. But the fact that you have the room is great, right? Because then you can just recreate it if you want. And I like the idea that it's this massive room. I don't think you can really realize through the footage, but this room, it's basically circular, and it runs from the very top floor to the very bottom floor. So it is like 7 floors tall, and I'm just basically going through, and it's this massive fall. Like Luke at the very, no, it's 6 floors. It's 6 floors. So Luke falls from the top 6th floor all the way down to the very bottom floor of the Death Star. And he's got like this, this little walkway that goes right into the middle of the drop. And then he's got also the thing that he climbs on, to get away from Vader, and it's all very dramatic and everything, and Vader's all being a massive dramatic bitch about it, and he's like, join me and we can overthrow the Emperor and everything, and like no. And he's like, I'm your father, and he's like, no, that's impossible. I love that scene. And Luke just like, nah, bitch, I'm out. And he drops. And he goes. And he gets sucked into what I can only assume is like some kind of ventilation vent. Which, what the frick is that room? What is it meant to be? Why does Cloud City need a room like that? What is it?
Anywho, I wanted to recreate the circular things that Luke gets sucked into, and they basically just did that circular thing we go with the Journey to Batu pack, and I put like a red light on it. I still have no idea what it is, I'm so sorry. And then at the very bottom I stuck one of those round things on it because they're so versatile. Pardon me. If I sound unwell, by the way, it's because I'm currently unwell. I went on a cruise. I got back last week and I came back with something. Like, I think it's COVID, but I'm not well. I have a sore throat. I've had a sore throat for about, oh my God, it's been like 8 days. I've had a sore throat for 8 days and it's still going strong. And I've got a bit of a cough, so I'm sorry if I sound a little weird or if I cough during this voiceover. I'm terribly sorry. I'll try and edit out most of the coughing. But if I sound weird or if I sound like my voice is getting destroyed, don't worry, I started out that way. Okay, so another exciting thing is if we're going to do the room where Luke has a confrontation with Darth Vader, we obviously need to do a room where he falls and then he gets sucked into this vent thing and then he goes wee on this little like water slide thing. It's without water. And then he gets spat at the bottom of the Death Star and he lands on a vent, and then in my head canon he like makes psychic connections with Leia going, Leia, I really need you to come to the table right now and rescue my ass. So that's what I imagine. I know it's not exactly on the Death Star in the original, but you have more locations to play with and also just makes the Death Star a little bit more dynamic. So you're welcome. You get that particular room and it's a big one. So I had a lot of fun making it. Now, if we're going to do that, then we might as well do the room where Han gets, oh God, what is it called? Cryo something, I think? I'm not sure. Don't quote me. I'm so sorry, Star Wars fans. I am a fan. I swear to God, I'm one of you. I'm just sick and unwell. And I'm not as knowledgeable about this as I'd like to be. But I'm doing the room where Han gets, frozen in cryo something or other. And so I did the little chamber, and I do apologize. I'd like to do a blanket apology for this whole build because the Death Star is circular. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but as you can imagine, we have some really weird shaped rooms within this Death Star because if I want to fit in and build in every single space, then there's going to have to be some compromise on what are these spaces even looking like, because they've got some really weird shapes to them. So I do apologize. There are some weird shaped rooms in this Death Star, but I try and blend it in as much as I possibly can and smooth everything out so it's not awkward looking. So this room in particular, I wanted it to be red. I wanted it to invoke alarm and just sort of suffocating this. So it's bathed in this lovely red light. And as you can see, you've got the chamber where Han, he goes down into the floor. I've also got a little floor section. So it goes down into the level below this. And I'm putting in like chimneys and everything. So when the fire is lit within the Death Star, the smoke is going to absolutely bucket this room. And it's actually going to look like steam and everything and exhaust smoke and everything, and it just gives you the sense of, oh, this room is not a nice room to be in. It's probably hot as balls in there, or it's really cold or something, and it just gives the room a lot of texture and utility. And you can look at this room and go, oh, I know what this room is. And I put in like a lot of pipes and everything, and it's just fun. And there's like hazard tape and a fire extinguisher. The fire extinguisher is not going to do a thing, I swear to goodness. And there's just a lot of venting and everything, and it's just it's such a textured room, and I love it because it's got all this piping and everything. And I really love the piping, the house pipes, like the drain pipes, I put around the mechanism itself. And then of course I do a little button. It's like this little red button that you can press, and it's sort of like obviously not a real button, but you can imagine what I'm going for. And then to really finish the room off, you can see the smoke. I've got the smoke in now. But to finish the room off, I decided I was going to put in a figurine or a slate of Han Solo actually frozen in kryptonite. It's not kryptonite. Oh my God, did I just say kryptonite? It's not that. Is it that? Hang on, I'm gonna Google this. Hang on. My video is still running, don't worry. I'm not gonna lose my place, but Han bear with me. I'm not going to make this mistake. Han Solo frozen in what? Carbonite. Oh my god. Thank you. Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. Carbonite. Did I actually? I'm such a dick. I said kryptonite. Oh, I really am sick. I have got a fever. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna be a rambling fool. Also, so I put in a mannequin and I pressed the mannequin up into like this slate thing while in the machine, and it sort of looks like he's sort of melded into the slate behind him. And I'm so sorry. I had to put a wig on the Han Solo mannequin because it's a mannequin, as you can imagine, but I wanted him to have brown hair, but obviously you can't put hair on a mannequin. You can only put like hats and bandanas and stuff. So the only wig I could put on this poor mannequin to simulate Han Solo was the wig that you get with the oldies stuff pack or something. The kit, I think. Golden Years is what it's called. You get like these old people things. It's great. All right, so now we're moving on to another room that is the Emperor's chamber. It's at the very top because I've always imagined it at the very top because he so would. It's the chamber where Luke has the final confrontation with Emperor Palpatine. I recently learned that his first name is Sheev, which, wow, that's a first name, huh? And it's the bit where he has his little dramatic swivel chair on that pillar platform kind of thing. And of course he has the fun thing about this room is that in the movies, obviously the Emperor gets tossed down a shaft and everything, and that's how he dies, which, you know, big eye roll in that one because I say he dies, but you know, the sequel series is a thing now, so I guess not. The eggs on our face on that one. But I love the idea because it's so fun because I built this and you can see in the floor I've done cutouts for the room below, and there is actually a big fall below this room because this whole throne room is built on top of the room where Luke falls down that big chamber thing, the thing we've just built. So if we're going by the logic of my current build, when Darth Vader absolutely yeets the Emperor down that mine shaft thingy, he's actually falling down the same shaft Luke does. And I can just imagine the Emperor just going blink, 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 blink all the way down and getting sucked into one of those things and actually being like pooped out the bottom of the Death Star onto like an antenna, and he's just basically hanging there and he's not doing well. So sorry, that's so crude, but oh god, it's so fun to think about. Just a little bit of silliness to our current Star Wars save, you know? Alright, now our next room, we go through them quite quickly, so I will try not to get distracted, but our current room is the nice meeting room. Now we see this room in A New Hope, where Darth Vader, it's sort of our introduction to Darth Vader. It's his first like speaking kind of thing where he's not yelling at everybody. So he's interacting with his peers. He's at a meeting at the Empire, and you can sort of see that, you know, oh god, who is he called? It's not, no, the other guy. I can't think of it. But the Empire head honcho dude, he sort of like gives Darth Vader, okay, calm down, mate, stop choking everybody. And Darth Vader actually listens. I find that dynamic so fun. So you have to have a really intimidating meeting room. So originally I wanted to have the table in the middle of the room be quite small, but then it looked too minuscule. Like these are meant to be essentially the rulers of the galaxy, you know, at least, you know, their top brass and everything. And it just felt like their meeting table was just, you know, we can sort of fit about maybe 6 people around this little table and that'll be enough. And it's like, no, we need something a little bit more grand with some gravitas and some, you know, some sexiness to it. So I decided to make a really custom-made meeting table, and it's got like the table where it's got a hologram to it, and it'll come up with like, you know, hologram Death Star kind of things for the First Order and everything. And it's sort of like their big meeting room, and it's a very attractive room. I'm really proud of this room actually because the lighting above makes it look so cool, and the table is massive. I just love the scale of that table and how it turned out. So we really like that room. And next we're moving on to the room where, okay, so when I originally had ambition to make the Death Star, I spoke about it with like my brother. And he's like, so what are you going to put in it? Like, because there's not actually that much that goes into the Death Star. And I'm like, oh, sweetheart, there's so much that goes into the Death Star because I'm ambitious and a perfectionist, and that's just the way my brain works. So I put everything into this Death Star. So this is the room in A New Hope where Han, Luke, and Obi-Wan have breached the Death Star in order to rescue Princess Leia, and they're sort of hiding out in a room with the droids going, okay, we're here, but we're in a lot of trouble and this isn't worth it. And Luke sort of has to sort of go, you know what, she's really rich, so I think you want to do this, mate. And it's the room where they have that conversation, and it's eventually the room where C-3PO and R2-D2 sort of hang out while everyone's having a little bit of trouble in the trash compactor room. And I made sure to put in a little closet in this room so the droids can actually hide out in the closet if they need to when the time comes. And I like to think that the function of this room, it's a science room, yes, because I put some sciencey stuff in here, but I also like to think it's the main communications room. So this is where all of the intelligence comes from. This is where all the computers and the desks and the, you know, the sleuthing happens on the Death Star. You know, they're having like, you know, intergalactic chats with, you know, other bases where the Empire is established. And because if the Death Star is the main hub of the Empire, you know, the grand epicenter of the Empire, then they're going to need to know what's going on within the rest of the galaxy. So this is like the communication room, which I thought was so fun. I'm going to have to plug in my phone, actually. Give me a sec. Ugh. Hang on. Sorry, I'm unprofessional. I'm sick. That's going to be my excuse for this whole thing. I'm sick, and I'm currently recording this in bed because I'm bedridden and sick, and my phone is dying. So I'm not recording this on a professional microphone. I'm saying all this into my phone. Please forgive me. Now, we're moving on, and we're currently moving on to, if you don't recognize what I'm currently building, that's completely fine. This is the little rooms that are sunk. Okay, so imagine the main bridge of the Death Star. This is where, you know, Darth Vader will stand and look out the window and everything, and he'll have, you know, that really big long walkway up to his big long window. It's main control kind of thing. It's the epicenter. Yeah, so this is, you know, the bridge. Oh, it's the bridge. Thank you. That's the word. It's the bridge. And so the bridge has like this very long walkway down the very middle of the room. And then on either side of that walkway is like sunken into the floor, little computer areas. So I really wanted to replicate that. So I did little sections that you can actually go and hang out in. And they've got a little secret door below ground to get into these rooms. And they can sort of, you know, you've got computers in there. You've got them from like this spy career. So they're very retro sciencey looking. And then the rest of the room is just essentially a lot of set dressing. So you've got the walkway in the middle. I've put like little antechambers also on either side of the room just because I felt like it needed a little bit more gravitas. So I put in, you know, all of that and everything. But at the end of the day, it's not like, it doesn't serve a function, which is okay. Because not every room has to serve a function. It just has to sort of be recognizable as what it is. And this is the bridge, so it's basically where they steer the ship, essentially. And, you know, this is like fire when ready kind of thing. So we've got that going on. And I'm basically just filling up all the walls and trying to keep it all very science themed, because the danger with building a very sciencey, specific build like the Death Star is that if you're lazy about it, it can look not right. Like, you really have to lean into the science, sci-fi decorating scheme of it and go in hard with the flooring and the wallpapering and the lighting and everything, and making sure that everything looks correct. Because Sims builds very easily look awkward, especially when you're trying to build curves and everything, and just trying to build something that's not a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom suburban house. So building something that's very custom and very specific is a challenge, and you really just have to lean really, really, really hard into your themes. God, I love the lighting in this build. Every time I turn to night, the whole build just lights up. And I think, you know, it's such a great thing to get right. Speaking of lazy rooms, I don't love how this next one turned out. I'm so sorry. You will notice I get tired. I get tired during my builds, and if I'm building something that's just really intricate, some rooms suffer, but I suppose it's okay at the end of the day. Like it's done. So this is the room where I like to believe that this is Darth Vader's personal quarters. So I gave him a bedroom that basically doesn't have a bed. It has a sleeping pod that you get from Get Famous, and I like the idea of this because Darth Vader, his character is meant to have a lot of medical equipment going on. He's held together by machine. And so I imagine that his sleeping scenario would have to be very highly medicated, highly sterilized as well. So you can see his bedroom sleeping area backs directly onto a bathroom area that I feel like is filled with like decontamination areas and everything. His sink, his toilet, his shower. It's all very sort of sterilized and everything, and this is done very intentionally in order to keep him alive. And then backing onto that room is his office. I also like to think that he's got a brutalist kind of decorating style very intentionally, because I feel like a lot of Darth Vader's character is based on the idea that he has lost absolutely everything he ever cared about, and then he essentially lost his family. He lost the potential children he could have had. He lost his mentor in Obi-Wan. He lost his sort of career or destiny, I suppose, within the Jedi, and something he dedicated his life to. And most importantly, he'd lost Padme. And I'm a romantic at heart, so it's all about what he's lost. So I do believe that centered within the Darth Vader character is a ton of guilt, like a bucket load. So I do believe the way in which he would live his life as Darth Vader is very much rooted into some kind of self-torture, self-punishment. Like, I imagine he does not live a comfortable lifestyle. He's held together by machines, and he probably would have avenues of sort of living more comfortably. I imagine he's in quite a lot of pain as well. And it's a choice for him not to do so. So not to live on painkillers, not to live on any kind of thing that would bring him any kind of comfort. His life is essentially him sort of atoning for what he's done, but also having to stick with what he's chosen to do, the path he has chosen. So he gave up everything to serve the Emperor, but in the end, he doesn't need to serve the Emperor, because what is he living for at the end of the day? So I really do think he's just a shell of a man, just doing what's there, doing what's presented before him, and it's a whole control thing with the Emperor and everything. It's not a great sort of lifestyle for him, and it's a very sad kind of lifestyle. So, but very juicy, very interesting kind of thing. It's a great thing to think about. So yeah. So now we're moving on to the actual detention area. This is more towards the bottom of the ship. I believe this is the second last level of the Death Star, and as you can see, I'm going in and trying to make it quite reminiscent of the movies. I love, if you remember, this is the room where, you know, Han and Luke go and try and rescue Princess Leia, and they get stuck in a hallway outside the prison cell, and they have to go through a garbage chute and everything to get out of there. So there's got to be like a central control area, basically an office area, where, you know, they keep an eye on everything, and branching off of that are two hallways with some cells. There's 4 cells. And this is, I did get a little ambitious with my decorating within this part. So I bracketed the detention hallways with this absolutely lovely metalwork pillar. You can see it bracketing the room, and I love this object so much because it's so dynamic. It's got its own lighting to it, and if you actually go into, you know, first person mode and look down that hallway, it's bracketed with nothing but all this metalwork and everything, and I think it's so fun. And very much the theme of this room is like red and everything, and the lighting, again, the lighting makes this build. It would be nothing without the lighting that is within it. So lighting is so important, and I'm just using as much Journey to Batu objects as I possibly can, because I am conscious that not everyone has every single pack. However, if you do want to enjoy the Star Wars world, then you really, 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 really do need Journey to Batu. I'm so sorry. There's no other way around it. But I have gone to considerable efforts to try and make the bulk of the objects that I use within the Star Wars save file the Journey to Batu pack. So I have taken what Sims has given us and I've stretched it far. Like I've used every single object in every way conceivably possible. God, I love this room. It's imposing and it's themed and I love it so much. Now the prison cells. The prison cells aren't anything to write home about, I will admit. They're very uncomfortable and brutalist, and there's basically just nothing to them. It's a sink, it's a toilet, it's a bench. They don't get a bed, they have to take a nap. Poor Princess Leia. Oh my god. She's fine, she's tough. She's a badass, so she can handle it. But yeah, they are very simple prison cells. And what we're going to go to next is something really fun, because as you can imagine, rooms breed into rooms, and logically, underneath the detention area is obviously going to be the garbage room, like the garbage trash compactor room. So that's really fun. So I'm doing it quite themed. You've got that metalwork wall, which is so perfect. I wanted this room to feel like it had been like in use heavily quite a lot. Now I do break a rule here. So as you can see, I've gone through a lot of effort to make the Death Star a sphere. But I break that rule because I go in with this pool and I put in a pool in the detention area. And it's awkward because this is the very bottom of the Death Star. So if you actually go down to the Death Star and you have a look at it, you'll see a big sphere. And then just randomly in one little section at the very bottom of the Death Star, you'll see a pool, or what is the outline of a pool, sticking out of the bottom of it, because this is the very bottom. But it wasn't meant to be this way, because originally I was going to do that thing where if you have a room and you sink it into the floor, or you get like the water feature, you can actually flood the room up to ankle height and still have Sims walk inside that room, so you can actually flood rooms. So I was planning to do that with the detention garbage chute area, but silly me, I forgot that you can't actually do that effect in a basement level. You can only place ponds and waters above ground. I'm a silly Billy. So yeah, it didn't really work out. So I did have to sort of make something up on the fly because I really wanted water in here. So I did end up putting in a pool at the very bottom of the Death Star, which, you know what, you can't see it. Oh, that's another thing I'm quite proud of that I haven't mentioned yet. The Death Star, in my actual build, it's floating. It's not attached to anything. Like technically it covers 7 levels out of 8, and at the very bottom level, the 8th level in the basement level, is just nothing but air. So it is truly a Death Star that floats in the air. Yes, it doesn't float very high. I couldn't raise it up anymore because obviously we needed to utilize the basement levels to get all the rooms that we wanted. However, it is a build that does float, which I thought was really lovely and proud and everything. So you're probably wondering, okay, but if it floats, how do we board the Death Star? Which is really fun. So I essentially placed down an elevator that acts as a spawn point for Star Wars. So if you live in the Death Star and you go and you visit someplace and you come back to the Death Star, when you spawn into the Death Star, you're going to be spawning at that elevator. So you basically spawn right inside the Death Star. So I put the elevator, I sized it down, and I put it at the very bottom of the ramp of the ship that is in the shipping bay. So that ship that's docked in the shipping bay, that is an elevator, a tiny one at the very bottom of the ramp. So it's almost like when your sim arrives back on the Death Star, it's like they've exited the ship, they've docked the ship in the Death Star and they've done their thing. Now, we're moving on to a very special room. We're doing the med bay, because of course there's a med bay. I wanted a room where it's centered around the idea that, yes, there's a med bay, but it's also the room where there's like a Bacta tank. I love Bacta tanks. I have no idea what they are or how they work, but I assume it's cool. And they're, you know, they're very handy. So I wanted the idea that, yes, they do have great healthcare on the Death Star, but just honestly, stick them all in a Bacta tank and they'll be fine. Rub some spit and grit on it. It's fine. It's very Australian. So yeah, it's a very devil may care approach to healthcare. So, yeah, so it's a very cool med bay and I love it. And there's also a separate room where they have a little operating theatre. And in the operating theatre, I've actually put down, you can have a speaker, a stereo within the Journey to Batu pack, but it's actually shaped like a little robot, and the little robot actually moves. So I sized up the stereo and I put it in the med bay, and it's almost like there's a big robot and it operates on people, because why would you have human error in the operating theatre when you can just pass on the job to a little robot that will just do the operating for you? It really reminds me of the scene where Padme gives birth, because it's obviously just a robot in the room. There's no doctors, or at least there's no doctors within, you know, the upper crust of the Star Wars universe. They just rely on the robots for everything, which is scarily accurate to what's becoming of our world with artificial intelligence at the moment. So I do have an operating theatre and I do put in a little robot and I love it so much. I love that it's orange as well. I just love that little pop of colour in my little med bay, which I thought was so beautiful and cute, and I love it so much. And then it also, you know, I put in some just random sciencey kind of things and everything. And then essentially the next thing we're doing is a kitchen. And then, you know, the mess hall and everything, and it's just so fun. But these are just your basic living quarters rooms. Every single kitchen that I've done within the Star Wars save file looks identical to one another, because all the kitchens I saw within Star Wars are essentially the same. It's bright, it's white, and it's high tech. Even Tatooine had like a really high tech kitchen. So I think it's just something that I don't think George Lucas could conceive of what is a low income kitchen. Everyone just has a nice kitchen within Star Wars, which fair. I'm sure they're fine. They're fine. Even Rey, pardon me, with her little, oh god, it just grows out of existence muffin thing that she has. It's bread. I've got it now. Little portions on Jakku, and her bread just, you know, you get some powder and you mix it with water and it just becomes a bread loaf, and it's like, that's so cool. I wish we had things like that. I bet it tastes terrible, but I do love it. So I don't believe there's much use for kitchens. I imagine their food is pretty taken care of in a level that we can't quite conceive of, but it's cool to think about. And really the Death Star is just so fun. I suppose I should explain who actually lives on the Death Star, because the roster went from 48 Sims, I think, or 46 or something like that, to something like 8. So Darth Vader lives here, which is great. I had to put him somewhere, so it made sense he would live on the Death Star. We've also got a mixture of Empire and First Order people. I believe there's 2 stormtroopers, and then there's an admin kind of person, so they're dressed up as kind of a a First Order admin person who like sits at a desk. They've got a really sexy little hat and everything, and it's so cute. And then another one was someone that looks like they fly a ship or a TIE fighter or something, which is so cool. So I love that. And then we've got Hux, the spy from the sequel series. I'm not. I actually quite loved, if I could confess, I actually loved, I'm going to say the first 1.5 of the sequel series. They had me up until a certain point, and then I dropped off very hard on the third one, and it's like, no. So, yeah. So, I did actually love the sequel series for what it is and the characters it gave us, but the story was like a 2 for me. But I desperately loved the characters, and I was a big Reylo shipper. I'm freely going to admit that, so yeah. They hold a special place in my heart anyway, so I was happy to include them. So yeah, so we've got Hux, and I've also got Kylo Ren living on the Death Star. I don't have Emperor Palpatine, though he is in the save. I made sure that Emperor Palpatine actually lives in Coruscant. He's actually a vampire, so he's not a Jedi. Well, technically he could be a Jedi, because Jedi's not really a life Status, it's a skill you learn, I assume. So he is a vampire because I wanted him to embody, number one, how he is within the prequels. So the politician, the, oh God, what's his name? McDermott. Definitely the very McDermott looking gentleman. And obviously he plays both roles, so it's fine. But then you've got also when he turns into a vampire, he turns into like the absolutely awful version of him within the originals and the sequels, I suppose. Grudgingly, yes, also there. So yeah, the room I'm currently doing, by the way, if you can't tell yet, it's the cloning room. I wanted to have a room where they would have clones, so you can actually clone Sims. I imagine they clone stormtroopers in this room, and all the stormtroopers underneath their helmets, barring Finn, look exactly like Jango Fett. So, you know, it's fine. Hang on. No. I'm getting my law incorrect. I'm making a mistake. Hang on. Oh, I'm thinking, it's a Fett. I know it's a Fett, but is it the son or is it the father? It's the father. No, I was correct. Jango Fett is the father, he is the clone, Boba Fett is the bounty hunter, he is the son. I saved myself there, oh my god, I was about to disgrace the name. So, yeah, so I imagine all the stormtroopers underneath their helmets look like Jango Fett, which I thought was quite canon. So if you ever want to clone a clone, go ahead, the room is right there. And they've also got like a mug shot station, they can take their little fingerprints and everything, which I thought was really fun. That's from Get to Work. And then obviously I'm making them a little housing, sleeping area. So you've got some very generic barracks for all the stormtroopers to live. This is obviously during the time when I thought I was going to fit a lot more Sims into this build than I thought, but that's not going to happen. So it's really just your basic barracks rooms. I was tired by this point, gang. I was real tired. I was coming to the end of my Death Star build. I'd been building it. Oh, actually, you know what? I tallied up the hours. It took me 20 hours to make the Death Star. Pardon me. And it was just, it was a mammoth effort. And by the end, I had ambitions to make it so great. And I suppose I did. But, oh my gosh, I was so sleepy. I was so tired. And I was burnt out. And I just wanted it to be done. Because building the Death Star was just another step into finishing the Star Wars save. And I will admit, Star Wars was big, like it was a big undertaking. So was Harry Potter. I am so ready to do some smaller save files, like a smaller world, so to speak. I want to focus on something very different next time for my next world and my next fandom that I'm going to build around. Something a little more casual, something that's not massively loved fandoms within my brain. So I'm going to choose something a little bit, you know, more easy next time, just so I'm not absolutely mammoth building these massive worlds and everything, because it takes a lot of effort, and it actually takes a lot of effort to sort of stick with it and keep the theme and everything and finish it. Like all the Sims, all the careers, all the relationships, all the inventories, all the holidays, all the, you know, the statuses of where they are in the Jedi Order, what clubs, and then, even then, the builds and all the things that go into building up a world within a save file. So it's a lot. So I am going to do something a lot more casual next time. Might as well. I am going to be doing Stardew Valley, and I am so looking forward to doing Stardew Valley. I'm sorry to all my Barbie people that were looking forward to me doing Barbie, but you know what? If I'm not in the mood, I'm not in the mood, and I can't force myself to do a whole world centered on Barbie when I'm just really not in the mood to focus on Barbie. I just want to build what I'm passionate about in the moment. And Stardew Valley, knock on wood, isn't going to melt my brain. It's a nice, small, well-loved thing that I love, and that I'm passionate about and that I know a whole lot about. So that's going to be very exciting for the future. So look out for those videos. As soon as Star Wars is done, you will be getting some Stardew Valley, which is very exciting. Now, the rooms that I'm actually currently building at the moment, I am conscious that I didn't want, you know, Darth Vader, or technically not Darth Vader, I didn't want Kylo and Hux and everything to live anywhere, you know, not fancy. So I decided to do these two little suites that were for Empire / First Order High Command. This is where they'd live. This is where they'd hang out casually and sleep and everything. They still get all their meals at the mess hall, but they've got a little bathroom. And they've also got a little antechamber that they share where they can go and meditate and do yoga and everything. I really should have put in a gym. I'm thinking about it now. I really should have put in a gym. I don't have a gym in my Death Star. How do people work out? It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's all good. It's all good. I'm not going back now. So, really, we're coming to the end of our Death Star build, and she's a beast. Oh my goodness. I keep saying that, but she was really massive. But I was so proud when I'd finally finished her and just went, oh, yes. Thank goodness she's done, because she's something to be proud of. I really did challenge myself with this build, and she's so fun and quirky, and she's, oh my god, she chugs. Like, when you load into the Death Star, it's not as bad as when you load into Hogwarts in my Harry Potter save, but if you've got a little laptop that barely runs The Sims 4, my Death Star build and my Harry Potter build are going to absolutely destroy your computer. I do apologize. I'm so sorry. I am the way I am, and I build the way I build, and I really can't do anything simply. I'm a maximalist, so I'm so sorry. So at the end, the really last things I had to do for the Death Star build was fit out the hallways, because the hallways were important. They're the connecting tissue. Really, I just put in a lot of staircases to take you from room to room and floor to floor, but I still wanted to put in a little bit of effort into the hallways. So I put down this very metallic floor tile, this very metallic looking wall tile, and then it's just pillar, 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 light, light, light. So there's these very specific light fixtures that just, bracket the halls and the walls of the hallways, and then I just put in a bunch of droids and everything, and I call it a day. So really that's it for my Death Star build, and I just want to thank absolutely everybody that came along and watched this video. It's shorter than I imagined. For the 20-hour build, I was actually able to cut it down into an hour long, which I'm quite proud of. So thank you so much, and I hope that if you enjoyed this build, that you would consider liking and subscribing to me if you want to see any of my builds in the future, or if you happen to be a Stardew Valley fan, you're going to be well fed on my channel in the future, don't worry. But thank you so much everyone for coming along. I would like to do a special shout out to Brielle, my new YouTube membership person, so thank you so much. That's very much appreciated. I'm blushing. Membership is new to me, so thank you so much for coming along, and I hope you enjoyed. I'll leave you to enjoy the gallery of the Death Star. I'm gonna go take a nap and a Panadol, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Goodbye everybody!